back. It's been a while since we've done one of these. Do a random 5 films. Basically, pick 5 films that either are not going to make an actor's top 5, or maybe we've missed in a top 5 or top 4 that we've done, or even we've done top 10 and top 8 too.
Films we haven't seen.
Yes. But yeah, we're going to pick 5 random films to discuss that we really enjoy.
Yeah.
You going to kick it off?
You go ahead.
Okay, 5. The first one I'll bring up is The Sandlot.
Oh, The Sandlot, yeah.
Yes. Kind of slipped out of the list. We did a top 8 sports films. Like, it's been a while now.
Yeah.
I think right before football season start. And it just didn't quite make our list. Not because I didn't enjoy it. I loved it as a kid. I was always a big fan of The Sandlot.
You play ball like a girl.
Yeah. It was great. It just, again, it's one of those ones where you're so hyper-focused on 8 films or whatever the list is, and it kind of falls between the cracks. But I was a big fan of The Sandlot, always. It's a great story. And I have felt like, again, and I've said this in other movies, I always felt like Smalls, not really making a lot of friends, trying to fit in. It's all, you can relate to that stuff.
The only kid I really remember I've seen later on in other films was the redheaded kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did some horror films or something. I don't know what.
I know he was in a Mountain Dew commercial.
Well, maybe that's where I remember him from. But yeah, I remember The Sandlot. Yeah, we watched it in school, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't remember that, but yeah, Sandlot.
Wasn't there an actor in that, like an older actor, owned a dog or something?
Yeah.
Was that Walter Matthau?
No.
Dan Aykroyd?
No, stop. James Earl Jones.
That's who it was.
And then you had what's his name? He was the bad guy in Judgment Night.
Dennis Leary.
I was going to say
the dad of one of the kids.
Yeah, he was the dad of Smalls.
Okay.
Yeah. Sandlot.
Yeah, that was a good film, man. Yeah. I'm going to go with. Hold on, I got to get my list.
Of course.
Wait a minute. So I'm getting there. How about Run All Night?
Oh yeah, with Liam Neeson and
Ed Harris.
Ed Harris, yeah.
Bruce McGill too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I guess. Only saw it once.
That's a heck of a film, man.
It was. I really enjoyed it.
Next to Taken, out of all these action films Liam Neeson's done in the last 10 years, I gotta say, next to Taken, this is my favorite.
Yes, that was pretty good.
I loved it, man. And actually, a little bit of information, FYI, about it was that Nick Nolte was supposed to have a bigger part in it.
Oh yeah, that's
Neeson's
right.
Brother.
Yeah.
He shows up, very short cameo in it. Was supposed to be bigger, but what happens on the editing room floor stays there. So
yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, Run All Night, man.
Nice bringer. We brought this up. Obviously, it made an actor's top 5. It was the first one. I'm going to bring up the second one, Predator 2. Danny Glover.
Oh man, yeah, Predator 2.
Predator 2.
2.
I'm telling you, man, that was one. And again, you can't take nothing away from the first one. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sonny Landman, Bill Duke. The list goes on and on. Carl Weathers. This was pretty close.
It
pretty
was
close.
Yeah.
And I love the backstory that it was actually supposed to be Patrick Swayze, and we it was supposed to be him. He was supposed to do it, but then he hurt his knee shooting Roadhouse.
Right.
So he decided to do Ghost instead. So then they went and got Danny Glover. That one of the few times I would actually like to see the flip side of that coin. Nothing taken away from Danny Glover, but.
And I thought Glover, you talk about someone who steps up to the plate in an action film in his own right, more than worthy successor to the first film. I wouldn't put it on the same, as far as classic, one of the greatest iconic sci-fi action films of all time. But it's very close. It's very close.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. So that's your number 4.
Yeah. Or your second one you're going to bring up.
Second film I want to bring up is Alien Nation.
Never seen it.
Alien Nation. We're talking James Caan and Mandy Patinkin.
Well, James Caan's in it. I guess I got to check it out then.
Yeah, it's a film. A lot of people, I guess, if you want to draw the comparison, there was a film came out a few years back called District 9.
Okay.
I guess you could draw some parallels. But an Alien Nation came out in the late 80s, spawned a series of TV films, and in fact, a short-lived TV series. But as far as the premise of the movie, It takes place about 10, 20 years after aliens have actually made first contact with Earth. And they've come to Earth. They've sort of integrated in society. Unfortunately, they've become second-class citizens. And so during the course of the film, you find out that these aliens have developed a drug that to them is the equivalent of like, cocaine or something like that. And it's up to James Caan, a human cop, and Mandy Patinkin plays an alien cop. And James Caan can't stand the aliens, can't stand them.
Oh, okay. It kind of reminds me of what Bright too with Will Smith.
I heard about it. I never saw that, but it's really a great film. There's a reason why it spawned a whole series of TV movies and a television series in its own right. And the last few years, Jeff Nichols, phenomenal director, followed all his work, was trying to get a remake done of Alien Nation, but unfortunately, when Fox folded and came into the fold with Disney, that sort of went up in smoke. So
okay,
but Alien Nation, man, check it out. Great film, great sci-fi movie.
Cool. The third film I want to bring up is you brought up a Liam Neeson one. I'm going to bring up his latest one. It's called Honest Thief.
Okay, yeah, I haven't seen that.
Oh, it's phenomenal. He's don't want to give too much of it. Obviously, you hadn't seen it, and it's fairly new, so don't want to spoil anything. But basically, he's a bank robber, and he's robbed banks, and he ends up meeting a female, and he wants to get married, but he doesn't want his past to haunt him, so he wants to turn himself in, and gets in. Obviously, he gets into the wrong FBI guys that are trying to screw him over. So it's a whole thing after that, but that's kind of where I'll stop. But just phenomenal acting, and you got Robert Patrick is in it.
Oh man,
he's great. It's got the kid. I think it was his son in Run All Night. He's in it too.
Oh, what you talking about? He was in Suicide Squad.
Yes,
Joel Kinnaman, I think.
And I forget the other guy. He's a known actor too. He's partners with Robert Patrick. He's great too, but I couldn't tell you the name or what he's been in. But yeah. Honest Thief, that was a really, really good film.
Well, it sounds like to me it's not. I mean, he's not jumping from one commuter train to another like he is.
Or nonstop on an airplane,
Yeah.
No, this is, and it was pretty believable too.
Yeah.
So it was good.
The joke with Liam Neeson was that you said that in a recent interview he said he's going to be done with making action films after the next two that come out.
Yeah. He's good. I'm not doing any more after I do these last three.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
I'm going to go with Lethal Weapon.
Lethal Weapon. First one? Just the first one?
It depends on how you look at it. Personally, I could throw all four in there. But...
it's a definite, to me, it's a decline. It's not, to me, if we rated those ones, to me, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right, it does.
And the 4 is a sharp decline. But no, I enjoyed all of them. I did.
Yeah, you can't talk about the 80s, man. You can't talk about mid-late 80s action films without talking about Lethal Weapon, Die Hard, 48 Hours, things like that, man. Beverly Hills Cop. These are the ones that come to mind. Lethal Weapon, it put Gibson on the map. Of course, before he had done Gallipoli and a few others. But this is the one that he really broke through with stardom. Him and Danny Glover, man.
Oh, yeah.
And... and it almost, before that, you still had some others that were buddy cop films, but this almost defined it, man. He put the parameters in place in which you want to watch two opposites try to get along. They're cops, they're partners.
Danny Glover's, 1 foot out the door. He's supposed to be retiring.
By the book, stalwart cop. And then Gibson's a loose cannon.
Yeah.
And of course, in any given action film, the protagonist is only as good as antagonist.
Oh, man.
So we have to bring up the man, the legend,
Gary
Busey, man.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, and you talk about friggin' amazing. Busey's just a treat, man.
Yeah.
He really is. He's great.
He's something, all right.
And Al Young shows up, man. Remember, he's electrocuting.
Yes.
Yeah, he's good. He's Al Young, man.
Of course.
Yeah. So, man, Lethal Weapon, I watch. I've got all 4 films in one of those
4-packs.
4-packs. I don't have the special editions or nothing. But,
no, me neither.
I mean, by the time, you started getting Joe Pesci, Rene Russo, Chris Rock, it starts to you know,
Yeah, I get
giant family going.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, but
Okay. The fourth film I'd like to bring up is a movie that came out in the early 80s, All the Right Moves.
okay,
Tom
yeah,
Cruise, Leah Thompson, Craig T. Nelson. Craig T. Nelson.
Craig T. Nelson, man.
It's a high school movie. It's centered around football. You know, Tom Cruise is a senior in high school, pretty decent football player, but you know he's kind of an antagonist. You know, and Craig T. Nelson's a coach, and you can tell that Tom Cruise kind of rubs him the wrong way. And they have a big game. I think it's based in Pittsburgh, and Tom Cruise, Craig T. Nelson, and they're all in a small town, small mining town. Well, every year they play the big, like Pittsburgh or Pennsylvania, something. It's a big town with a lot of money, and it's a big game. It's a rivalry, and they almost win. Something happens. You can see what happens in the film, but Craig T. Nelson and Tom Cruise kind of get into a verbal argument. Craig T. Nelson kicks him off the team. Then something happens. These people vandalize Craig T. Nelson's house, and Tom Cruise happens to be there and tries to stop it for the most part. Craig T. Nelson doesn't see that way because he doesn't like him and basically blackballs him from getting into college.
Yeah.
And that's basically the gist of it. It does end on a great note, on a high note. And like I said, I love Craig T. Nelson, and I have some respect for Tom Cruise. And Leah Thompson does a good job. And Chris Penn's in it. Young Chris Penn.
Chris Penn, man.
Very young Chris Penn.
Yeah.
But no, it's great. It's a great film. If you're a fan of the 80s, fan of that kind of era and how high school was back then, definitely check that out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I saw once. You showed me the film. Big fan of Tom. Was it after or before Risky Business?
I think it was before, because I think the only thing he did before that was Tex or whatever it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, Craig T. Nelson, I'm a big fan of his. Leah Thompson from Back to the Future. Yeah, so it's again, these are films that really defined, formed, shaped, and made the 80s, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I'm going to go with movie Westerns. We know we talked about Westerns being a genre that isn't really focused on that much anymore. There's only a couple guys keeping that genre alive, one of which, Kevin Costner. I'm going to bring up Open Range.
Open Range. I've seen it once. It seems to be going around a lot in the hair lately. I saw it once, him and Robert Duvall.
Yes.
Huge fan of that.
Yeah. And again, just when you think Costner's a whole lot of tricks in his bag, man, especially as far as Westerns go, you know, and Dance with Wolves might have covered it all, this and that, whatever. Dude, Open Range, I was just mesmerized from the go, man.
Yeah.
Just a great film. Not only Costner, but yeah, we talk about Robert Duvall, man.
Oh, man.
The Western's Western. I mean, this guy practically, I mean, he defines the contemporary Western genre, man.
Yeah.
Lonesome Dove, on down the line, man.
Oh, yeah.
And Michael Gambon, I think is his name, the British actor, plays the antagonist in the film. And it has all the elements of a great Western, you know. Very straightforward, very simple,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, yeah.
But again, it's the story, no matter how many times you tell the story, but it's the talent involved.
Yep.
And the way it's brought to you, man, and it makes not only palatable but really enjoyable. I loved it. I love Open Range, and I always visit it very often, revisit it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
The last film I want to bring up, actually Robert Duvall is in it, but it's a small role. It's a cameo. The Road with Viggo Mortensen.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I think that's the first time we ever hung out. We went to see that movie in the theater.
The Road, yes, yeah.
And it's kind of has comparisons to the Book of Eli. It's a post-apocalyptic thing. They don't ever actually explain what had happened.
Right.
You know, there's a part in the movie where Viggo Mortensen wakes up with his wife, which is Charlize Theron, and he's looking out the window, and he runs in the bathroom and starts turning on all the water.
Yeah, to get.
And
yeah.
I think basically the gist of it, evidently, was a nuclear war. And that's just me speculating. I think I read something about that because it's based on a book. And it's the same writer who wrote No Country for Old Men.
Okay.
Yeah. But, I just gravitated to that film. And movies like that are kind of slow burn, things like that, they always fascinate me, and how you survive if the world just turned upside down.
Yeah, there's, caution for anyone who's easily driven by depressive emotions, and
Yeah.
it doesn't. In some ways, there's not a lot of hope.
In the Book of Eli, it's more kind of, it's a little lighter around the edges. It's not as rough. Where this is in your face, raw, raw motion, raw coverage. But and I can kind of gravitate towards that. It fascinates me, and you just there's you just wonder, like, especially how the movie ends, and I don't want to get into all that, but where do they go from there?
I'm not saying it's completely hopeless, but it's different. Book of Eli came out the same year. It was more geared towards
hope.
And
hope.
action almost quality. This is not so much.
This is a drama. It's like you said. It can be depressing at times. It's a visually and actor driven feature.
And it's a story about a man and his son.
That's the whole gist of it.
In one of the worst scenarios you could possibly imagine yourself in. And that's a great film. Love seeing that. I'm gonna throw you a curveball here. I was gonna come up with something else, but I think I'm gonna toss this one in. I'm gonna throw the gauntlet down on this one. Have you ever seen a movie called Futurekick?
No, I've never even heard of it.
Now, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, I bet he is.
This is a real treat.
Let me tell you what I think.
Well, you watch it, and I welcome any kind of feedback. We did.
How about I just say I'll never watch it, and we'll just leave it at
that. We did a series of films early at the beginning of this channel called Films Drive Jack Crazy. These are films that you really couldn't stand, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah. This would probably fall under that category. Okay, I don't know who directed it.
I never saw it, though.
Right. Well, you got to see it.
Listen,
I don't know who directed this.
There's a reason for that.
Piece of
He probably never directed it again.
But it came out in the early 90s. Don the Dragon Wilson stars. Okay. From Blood Fist 1 through 8. Okay. And
they did 8 Blood Fists?
Yeah.
I gave up after 1.
And Blood Fist was really was a copy off of Bloodsport.
Yeah.
So you're talking about a copy of
a copy of a copy.
Yeah. So really, and you'd think after 1 or 2 films, you give it a rest. No, we're going to go to 8. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Futurekick. Megan Foster with the beautiful blue eyes, she's in it. It's a couple other people. I don't even know who these people are, man. It's supposed to be a sci-fi actioner. This was, and I've seen a lot of crap, okay? Let me tell you something.
Yes.
This was an endurance test for me, okay? I equate this with, and anyone who knows me, watches this channel, knows that 2 of the worst films I've ever seen back-to-back, Transfers 4 and 5, with Tim Thomerson, okay? Nearly unwatchable. I equate this film with those. Don the Dragon Wilson couldn't save it. Chris Penn's in it as one of the antagonists. He can't save this movie. Sometimes I wondered what was going on, because I had no idea. And other times, I had to watch it in like 5 intervals, man. I really did. I had to take, sometimes it was weeks apart before I came back to it. That's how bad it was.
All right. Great. Make sure you check out that one.
Futurekick, man. Don the Dragon Wilson, dude.
But that's your random 5. Like I said, we just want to bring up 5 random films, again, that may not make a list, or even if we did a top list. But there you go. We'll see you later.
That's a beautiful movie.